Hello and welcome to the session on cloud migration. So today we're just going to take a quick look at a bit of shared learning from customers who've already started looking at that migration into cloud from on-premise solutions, and also a quick introduction to GoAnywhere MFTAAS, so the GoAnywhere solution that is run as SaaS. I think most of you know me and have met me in person at some point, or at least spoken to me over the phone. But for those of you who don't know me, my name's Elsa, and I've been working at Protocol now for over 10 years and working with the GoAnywhere product for about the last 4 or 5 of those in particular. We work with a whole range of customers, as you've seen on the platform today. And I should just point out that having worked in this industry for about 10 years, I've got all the language, but not necessarily all the understanding. I am not technical. I can tell you how much things cost, and I can tell you what they do. But if you need to get into the detail of how they do it, then we'll need to get Richard or Michael involved. And I'm more than happy to take those questions and direct them at them over the course of the day. If you do have any questions during the presentation, I'll say do put them down in the chat or the question session, and I will get those answers to you if I don't know them myself. So just really wanted to pick up on following on from that conversation with James earlier about Gartner's view of the MFT market and that move to cloud. And in their 2020 cloud end user behavior study, they found that organizations are 17 times more likely now to be increasing spend on cloud. And this has certainly, move to cloud has certainly generated potential to improve business capabilities and outcomes, but it also still brings with it that risk for increasing wasteful spending. And where we see that is that most organizations get some kind of cost shock almost as they move into the cloud. If you just think you can take what you're doing on-prem and replicate it in the cloud, it does require that you stop and think about what some of those practices that you have today and whether they're applicable in the cloud environment and whether actually a straight lift and shift is the right approach. And we certainly see a lot of customers starting from that premise and then sort of thinking about whether that's the right approach and what they need to do next. And we're really seeing a demand for migration into cloud-based solutions in 2021. I know Help Systems have said up to 1/3 of their new customers are looking for a cloud-based service, and our numbers are not dissimilar. So what's driving that? Without doubt, the pandemic's playing a part in fast forwarding and driving that requirement for digital transformation. We're certainly seeing that. Remote working has definitely had an impact too. I know for us, being an online business and having most of our solutions working in the cloud certainly enabled us to work from home very easily. And we're also seeing businesses wanting to hand over things like patching and infrastructure management that they don't necessarily see as being a value add in their particular organizations, so they can focus on the bits that really matter to them. The last area I'd say that we've seen is this drive for resilience. So lots of our customers over the last 18 months or so had a bit of a realization that actually managed file transfer is sitting working away in the corner, but it's moving data that's absolutely mission critical. And do you therefore want to move to an active configuration on-prem, or do you move to a cloud-based service and make that somebody else's problem? So that's definitely been a driving force that we've seen in our existing customer base. The other thing I would say that we've seen is customers starting to think about keeping their on-prem servers and also having a cloud-based infrastructure. So we're not seeing this as an either-or thing at all. We're definitely seeing customers having both, managing a slow migration or just using a cloud-based MFT service to hook into new cloud-based applications and keeping their legacy platforms on-prem, and the use of agents that Richard just talked about as the link between the two. So we're seeing that real hybrid mix and match approach, which is something that Gartner had talked about. And a quick point here, just want to flag that we have GoAnywhere MFTAAS and other cloud-based services on the G-Cloud framework for our government customers. So if that's something that's of interest to you, do have a look at what we have on G-Cloud. So back to that, what's driving it then? So historically, MFT was very much an on-prem delivery, and certainly when I started looking at this 10 years ago, they were all on-prem, but we even at that point were selling physical devices. And then we've seen more of a move across into that public or private cloud deployment, so that you're delegating responsibility for networking, storage and service to somebody else and focusing on the higher value elements. And really GoAnywhere MFTAAS just takes that another step further and outsources 3 more layers in the stack to help systems to manage on your behalf, leaving you focused on users and workflows, and administering the site and monitoring your data. Somebody else is managing that application layer and operating system piece for you. Now, as I said at the beginning, I'm not technical, so I'm not going to attempt to take you through this diagram in lots of detail. It probably means more to some of you than it does to me. But a couple of things that you need to be aware of. So GoAnywhere MFTAAS is hosted in AWS. It's a single tenant solution, not multi-tenant like we see elsewhere in the marketplace, even in Arcus, the other solution in the cloud from help systems. Active or high availability is an option, and the gateway is always mandatory in this cloud configuration in GoAnywhere. The whole system is monitored 24/7, and they provide an uptime SLA of 99.9%. Some of you may know that help systems have already been through SOC 2 certification with EFT, and they're now taking that learning and applying that to GoAnywhere. So we would hope by the end of the year that GoAnywhere MFTAAS will be SOC 2 certified. And for those of you that aren't familiar with SOC 2, there's a high degree of overlap with ISO 27001 from an information security perspective, and we know that's something that's key to a lot of our customers. In terms of the way it's delivered, GoAnywhere MFTAAS takes and builds upon all that flexibility that you've got within GoAnywhere. So you can buy the modules that you need, whether that's SFTP, FTPS, HTTPS, AS2. You can take that functionality and build it in this structure and then combine it with the capacity that you require. So whether that's single server or active, the amount of bandwidth and storage you need. So whilst it's a SaaS solution, it's quite pick and mix. You can choose the bits that you need and then add and develop the solution as you grow. Now, a couple of things to consider. Cloud MFT Marketplace is in its infancy. I'm not sure it's quite as young as that picture would suggest, but it is still young. And James alluded to that earlier in some of the discussions from Gartner. So really, it's just something to think about when you are moving from on-prem, like so many of you would be, into cloud, but that some of those things might be different from a user and an admin experience. And certainly I would say that 2 years ago, we were seeing customers, 2 to 3 years ago maybe, seeing customers look at this industry and go, no, actually, it's not ready yet. We are now seeing that we've reached that tipping point. We've got more and more customers installing in cloud and accepting some of the restrictions that we're going to just have a quick look at. So I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but I just wanted to raise a few of the areas in here that are perhaps things you might not think about that you wouldn't have access by handing over those additional 3 layers in the stack. So email templates and branding, for example, you don't have quite the same level of functionality as you would if you've got this on-prem in terms of your ability to configure some of the overrides or change some of the logos. Key point right at the very top there, some of you will be running GoAnywhere in multi-tenancy mode, whether that's for external brands or internal divisions, and that's not currently available in the SaaS solution. Most of the other things in there are really linked to the fact that you don't have access to the base server, and the way that you can configure some of those base modules therefore is restricted. And the last one I just want to raise on here would be native commands. So again, over recent months and years, we've seen customers using lots of native commands to run PowerShell, for example, and that's not available to you in this hosted solution. A few other points are really to think about the server admin and what that means for you in terms of functional capability and what you can and can't do. So your server admin role does not exist because that's managed for you by help systems. Therefore, things like license deactivation and gateway manager are not available to you either. On a more practical note, there are a few things that are just worth flagging. Reporting. All of our customers use reporting, and reporting is absolutely available in GoAnywhere as a service. but you can't build advanced reports, custom reports. So just bear that in mind. Another thing that might be important to you is that recovery time objective. Given how critical some of this data is, the way it's delivered in SaaS is to flip this on its head. So there's a focus on the 99.9% uptime availability for you, but not necessarily the same degree of control that you have on-prem for agreeing what that recovery time objective is. So you might just need to think about that in your agreements with your business partners. Certificate management requires some assistance from help systems, so you need to plan that in advance. Just make sure that you've mapped that in. Less easy to do a quick fix. For a couple of our customers, the fact that the admin interface is on public infrastructure has also been flagged by information security. So just something to consider when you're looking at that move across. And how's this priced? Well, as I said earlier, it still retains all that flexibility that it has as a license system. You can still pick and choose the modules that will work for you. Most of you historically will have bought GoAnywhere as a perpetual license with an upfront cost and then an annual renewal. In recent years, they've introduced subscription, so you can run GoAnywhere as a subscription license, even if you're running it in private cloud or on-prem. But if you're going for GoAnywhere MFTAAS, then you have to have a subscription license. So you can buy the modules that you need, but you pay for it annually on a subscription basis. And then you then mix that with one of the 3 layers to buy you the capacity you require. So you specify the bandwidth and the storage that you want. If you go over that bandwidth and storage, there are some overage fees, so worth just thinking about the volumes of data that you're going to want to hold. And you've got a lot of flexibility within that capacity for setting how long you want the database to run, what you want to do in terms of archiving files, what the retention policies are, and so on. So there's a lot of control in this particular model. One of the last things I just wanted to share with you is that we get asked lots of questions about how to write a cloud strategy. So I just pulled this image from another Gartner document that I thought might be helpful for you, which was the Cloud Strategy Cookbook for 2021, which was only published in February. I'm sure most of you have thought of these concepts before, but I just thought I'd share it with you in case any of you are looking at writing your business plan for how you would move into cloud. It just references a few things there that you might need to think about and include in your model. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to post them into the chat window and into the questions box. If we don't get them covered now, then we'll pick them up later in the Q&A sessions this afternoon. And the next session today will be the roadmap with Michael Barford. But for now, it's your opportunity to go and grab some lunch, enjoy some food, have a look around the exhibitor stalls, see what additional information we've got, and feel free to join us this afternoon to have a deep dive into the roadmap. And then the floor is yours for all the questions you've got around how we can help you with GoAnywhere. Thank you very much.